it's Paul Moore, and I am here to do Ask Me Anything Real Estate live today on Saturday at 2 p.m. if you're watching live. And so before we get started, I need you all to let me know if you can hear me. So I got my mic on, I got my camera on, I got my coffee, and I am ready to go. So let me know if you can hear me. If you're on YouTube or Facebook Live, just tell me if you can hear me and we will get started. So also, excellent. Thank you, Carlos. Okay, so where are you from, Carlos? Where are you from, Marlon? Hey, Arizona. Hey, Dude Real Estate. Dude Real Estate. I know you. Hey, Nancy. Hey, Paige. Okay, from Raleigh. Tell me where you're from. And do me a favor. Let me know what you do right now. That would give me a great start today. You know, I'm going to start with a quick story. It's kind of an important story. Several men are in the locker room of a golf club. A cell phone on a bench rings, and a man engages the hands-free speaker function and begins to talk. Everyone else in the room stops to listen. Man says, "Hello?" Woman, "Honey, it's me. Are you at the club?" "Yes." "I'm at the mall now, and I found this beautiful leather coat. It's only $1,000. Is it okay if I buy it?" Yeah, sure ahead. Go ahead if you like it that much." And she says, "Also, I stopped by the Mercedes dealer. That new 2019 model's out. I found one I really liked." How much?" $95,000. "Well, okay, but for that price, I want all the options." "Oh, great. And okay, one more thing. The house we wanted last year is back on the market. And they're only asking $950,000. "Well, then go ahead and make an offer, but just offer $900,000. They'll probably take it." "Okay, bye. See you later. Love you." Love you too." The man hangs up, and the other men in the locker room stare on in astonishment. Then he smiles and asks, "I wonder whose phone this is." Hey, so it's really, give me a thumbs up if you like that little story or joke. So I need a thumbs up. Give me a share. Give me a smiley laugh or something. It's really important to know who you're talking to. So before we get started today, I would love to know who I'm talking to, what you do. So Whitney Sewell is joining us. Whitney hosts a daily podcast called The Real Estate Syndication Show. What I'd like you to do is give me a smiley face, a share, a thumbs up, but then go subscribe to the Real Estate Syndication Show. I was on Whitney's show twice. It was an honor. He is amazing. And so what we're going to do is thank you guys for all the thumbs up. My goodness, there's a lot of people on here today. So we've got some pent-up demand. So we're going to get started without any further ado. Now, I want to warn you that on Facebook, I can only see like the last 3 or 4 questions. We haven't got this fixed yet. And you millennials are all going, "Man, this old guy doesn't know how to use Facebook." That may be true, but I can still only see the last 3 or 4 questions. So if you ask one and I don't answer it, you're going to have to copy and paste it back in. Thank you, Andrew. Hey, Kenneth Jones, hi from Seattle. Whitney says, "Thank you. Okay, how do I convert my primary home to a rental? Should I refi, cash out?" Yeah, Simon Peter Gruber, thank you for that great question. There's a lot of ways to do it, and I'm going to ask you all to chime in on this. So Simon Peter here says, "How do I convert my primary home to a rental? Should I refi, cash out?" I'd always recommend taking lazy equity. There's a concept of lazy equity, and that's when you're not making much on your money and you could make more some other way. One form of lazy equity is home equity. That's basically not making a lot of money. And so if you can safely cash out and keep some margin of safety in there, and then use that money to buy something else or invest somewhere else passively or actively, I'd highly recommend you consider that. Anybody else want to jump in? That would be fine. Jamel Hori says, "Can you offer suggestions on how to start? I've got about $85,000 in equity to use in real estate." That's great. Please give me how a newbie should start." Jamal, there's so many ways to start. What are you interested in? What are you passionate about? What would you really like to do? Now, while I'm waiting for you to answer that, I'd also invite other people to jump in and give Jamal some advice. Again, he's got 85,000. He's trying to figure out how to get started. I would recommend a lease option sandwich or a rent to own sandwich, or possibly buying a couple flip houses and reselling those and building up your equity, building up your cash to a higher position. 85 is a great place to start, but get a little more, and then like consider doing some flips before you start building a portfolio. That's my advice. Bill Lou says, if my home's in foreclosure and the auction keeps getting pushed back, who is pulling the strings here usually? In this case, do the owners still have the power to sell the house to me? Yes. They can sell to you, Bill, right up till the morning of the auction. Now, I wouldn't wait that long. But yeah, I'm sorry, it's not your home in foreclosure. You're trying to buy a house. We call that a pre-foreclosure, and I bought several pre-foreclosures, and they went great. Now, there's a chance you still need to apply really sound principles to this. There's a chance that you'll get the house for a better price on the auction courthouse steps. However, if you can't know, you can never find out. In my opinion, in my history, and I've done a ton of these, you can never find out what they're going to auction it off for. And even if you could, let's say the house is worth 80 and the starting bid's 30, probably you'll get bid back up to 60 anyway. So you can't predict what will happen on the steps. That's why I recommend you trying to get it, Bill, on pre-foreclosure where you are now. Jared says, would you suggest a duplex or a 3/4plex due to easier selling? Oh, a threeplex or a fourplex? Oh, Jared, I don't know. That's a great question. That's like, I would probably go with bigger. I would always tend towards going bigger. I wrote a book called The Perfect Investment, and I recommend that people go big. I hope that helps. And I do agree, though, that a duplex would be slightly easier to sell. By the way, a fourplex is the largest building you can get on a residential loan. Above a 4, you have to go to a commercial loan. But there's advantages to that too. The residential, though, is better if you're starting out. Arturo says, what real estate books do you recommend for beginners? I was asked that on the BiggerPockets podcast about a year ago. There's one from Steve Burgess, Berges, and it's called something like The Guide to Buying and Selling Apartments. Highly recommend that. I'd also recommend Brandon Turner's books and other books on BiggerPockets. I'm not just saying that because I'm on BiggerPockets Live. And there's another book out there called The Perfect Investment. If you want to go big in apartment buildings, I wouldn't buy The Perfect Investment unless you really want to go pretty big, which is what I usually recommend. I missed a couple questions there. Sorry. Pedro says, I want to start buying multifamily. Where can I find deals versus searching the MLS? Okay, here's my advice. I would get on Craigslist, and I would go anywhere that there are apartments for rent and start calling and saying, hey, I saw your ad for a apartment for rent or a duplex for rent or whatever. I'm actually interested in buying, and I noticed your phone number was out of state. Would you be interested in selling? That's how you get deals in this market. That's one way. There's many. I am going to get over to YouTube in a few minutes. I'm going to answer a few more Facebook questions. Michael says, I've come across a real estate investing company, Bridge Financial, that's offering at least 15% return on my investment and up to 35% on larger investments. Is it too good to be true? I'm currently making 12% return as a private money lender. Good. Through fix and flips. I'm skeptical to invest with this company. I don't know that company. I would like to ask Michael, and I hope I can get back to you, what they're investing in. If it's multifamily or single family right now, it's really, really hard to get 35% return. At least 15% return. Honestly, Michael, that's really high. I'm investing, my private equity fund right now, Wellings Capital, is investing with 2 or 3 groups that are getting returns like that all day long. So it is possible, but they're doing it in a very specific niche within self-storage, okay, and mobile home parks. Daniel says, thoughts on real estate wholesaling? I think it's great. It takes a ton of time. It's not something to be tiptoed into, not something to do part-time. Julian Colvard. Hey, Julian. It says, what's the best way to create systems in your business? Start with a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller of Keller Williams. Go join their group. There they have a $30 a month group. Join it for a month or two at least and learn all their systems. And then if you really want to go to the next level, you have some employees, buy a book called Traction from Gino Wickman. Wickman. Gino Wickman. The book's called Traction. His father is a real estate legend named Floyd Wickman. I know Gino and Floyd. They've got a book called, again, Traction. Another is called Get a Grip, which is the parable, the story of traction. Then they have other books like Rocket Fuel. Highly recommend them. They're based in Livonia, Michigan. The company's called EOS, which is Entrepreneurial Operating System. Michael says fix and flips. Yeah, Michael, it's possible. I would ask them, I would really go meet with them face to face, especially if you're going to invest a lot of money. Go meet with them face to face. Go see some of their deals. Look at their track record. Look at their books, and check them out really carefully. Jorge, I might miss your question here. I'm about to buy 2 outdated. I missed it. It's gone. Whitney Sewell says, I'm going through Traction right now. It's great. Yeah, I know a couple Traction implementers. Jorge, you're going to have to re-ask your question. Like I said, they go off my screen, and we have not figured out how to fix that on Facebook. You're going to have to copy and paste it back in. Whitney says he likes Traction. Okay, so that's great, Whitney, and I would love to talk to you more when we meet next week for breakfast. Please tell me more about Traction. Okay, so hey, Marlon. Hey, Stephen Greenville. Okay, from Mississippi Software Development. You're welcome, Michael. Justin, good joke. Thank you. Okay, so lots and lots of comments here. There's a lot of people on here today. Daniel says, should I wait to buy a home outright or take out a loan to rent it? I would use safe leverage. Dave Ramsey, I hope you're not listening, but I would use safe leverage when you can. I always do. Can you please repeat the names of the book you recommended for newbies? The Guide to Buying and Selling Apartments, I think. It's by Steve Burgess, Berges. And also any book on BiggerPockets, especially Brandon Turner's book. And then I have a book called The Perfect Investment, and that's about buying and selling large apartments. Morgan says, okay, Eric. Hey, Eric from Bemidji, Minnesota. I was just in that area. I'm actually going to be speaking at a real estate event July 24th in Minneapolis. So, Eric, maybe I'll see you there. Okay, Jay says, what's the best way to purchase a property with not a lot of cash down? Rent to own, or try to find a lease option sandwich, Jay. And if anybody asks me, I will explain what I'm talking about. Hayes says, I have my eye on a fourplex where I live. It's not for sale. I looked up the owner tax records. It's an LLC. It's getting worse shape. I'd like to send them a letter. Oh, okay, great. So Hayes, you said, what's the best way? Then what's the best approach to not offend the owner but gauge their interest in potentially selling it? Should I just be direct and say I'm interested? Yes. I'd write them a handwritten letter in a handwritten envelope. And if you really want to up the ante after trying that, if they don't reply, send it to them again in a FedEx envelope. I know it's expensive, but always do handwritten letters if you can. My son does handwritten letters, and he has a tremendous response. It's hard to believe. Jay says, what's a lease option sandwich? Okay. Lease option sandwich is go in and find a pre-foreclosure. Somebody asked about a pre-foreclosure earlier, or any house that you can buy on a lease-to-own basis. Basically tell the owner that you are going to take over their mortgage payments, and you're going to effectively lease the home by paying their mortgage payments. You take the house, you put it into a land trust, and I'm sorry, for time's sake, I can't explain that right now, but you put in a land trust, you control the land trust, the owner's name's on it too, but you control it. And now you take over the mortgage payments, and let's say that you're paying $600 a month for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Then you go clean it up a little. The former owner now moves out, and you've got a contract to do all this. Now you take over the lease by making his or her mortgage payments. Then you turn around and lease it to somebody else on a rent-to-own basis as well for like $400 more. Let's say you can rent it out for $1,000 a month, and I could explain why later. You can get that much of a markup, but then you basically put them on a rent-to-own. So you're collecting you're paying out the mortgage company $600 a month. You're collecting $1,000 a month, so you're making a profit every month. Remember, you have no money out of pocket except what you put down to pay their back payments on their mortgage. Let's say they're $2,000 behind, but then you get a deposit from your buyer for like double that. Let's say $4,000. So you put $2,000 in, get $4,000 out, you've got a profit immediately. Then you make a monthly profit. And then let's say you're buying the house for basically the mortgage payoff. Let's say that's $70,000. You turn around, sell it for a higher number. Let's say it's $100,000. Of course, I'm using all theoretical numbers. And then when they close on it in 2 years, you help them get their credit in shape. You help them go toward closing. And when they close in 2 years, you make another $30,000 profit. Warning. I want to tell you that 75% of people will not close. So what will happen is you'll get it back and you'll re-rent it to a new person, collect a new deposit in about an average of 1.5 to 2.5 years. You'll get a new deposit, a new rental stream, and the value is just going to keep going up. And you'll probably do that 3 or 4 times before you actually get somebody to actually close on it. Okay? So, Jorge, I'm going to try again. Buying 2 outdated single-family homes. I want to demo and build a 4-family home. Really? Where do I start to find vendors to do the work? How do I know the quotes I'm giving are good and I'm not being taken advantage of? Jorge, that's a great question. I would go to your local real estate investor association and also call as many realtors as you can in your area, especially realtors who concentrate on investment homes, fix and flip, something like that, and you can build a little list of great contractors. Okay? So Eduardo says, any book on how to invest in a high market like California? No. Eduardo, I don't know. Maybe somebody else can answer that. This is an open forum, folks. You can answer. There's a lot of people here who know things that I don't. So I am going to stop taking Facebook questions for a while, so save them up. Please give me a thumbs up, a like, or share. As soon as I answer James' question here, I'm going to switch over to YouTube for a little while. My buddy and I, a couple of firemen from San Diego, in escrow for a 5-plex for $270,000. That's amazing. We own a duplex with approximately $400,000 equity. Should we finance the 5-plex or pull equity out of the duplex to pay it in full? I would have both financed individually at a moderate level. I wouldn't own either for cash unless there's a good reason to, like you're going to get better terms by pulling money out. I would consider, possibly owning each one for 50 to 75% loan to value ratio. I don't know if that helps or not. I can see, James, what I wouldn't do is have a bunch of lazy equity. And I mentioned what lazy equity means earlier. So hopefully that helps. Lazy equity is when there's money that is just, there's equity that's not making a good return. BP says, do you know any reputable hard money lenders? There's a bunch. Man, go on YouTube, BiggerPockets. There are so many. I don't even know where you live, but you can probably find several in your area. Slim says, what's a better cash out refinance? What's better, a cash out refinance or a home equity line of credit? I would get a home equity line of credit if you can, because you can keep paying it down. By the way, there's a thing called replaceyourmortgage.com. I'm looking for the notes on that. I think that's Replace Your Mortgage. It's a method of you put all of your paychecks and all the money you can into a home equity line, keep it paid down as low as possible. And by doing that, you're going to pay it off much sooner. And if you can actually replace your mortgage with a home equity line or supplement it with a second home equity line, you can actually pay off your mortgage with about the same money out of pocket in 6 years rather than 30. Hard to believe? Go check it out. I think it's called Replace Your Mortgage, or you can Google using a home equity line to pay your mortgage off sooner. if anybody could share this, if you know anybody else who should be on here, it would be a great time now to share this. BiggerPockets, I don't want to see those guys fire me. And so if you guys share, like, give me thumbs up and all that stuff, that would be really, really nice. Is there going to be a real estate market crash soon? Warren Buffett said he will never predict when a market crash will be, and he's been studying this stuff for like 70 years. So I'm going to kind of go with him on that one and say, I don't know. I just don't. I've thought there's going to be a crash many times when there wasn't. And of course, I wasn't ready for the crash when it did hit in 2007 or so. If I have a property manager, do I still need a real estate attorney, and why? You're still going to want a real estate attorney to close, but Justin, I don't know all the details. Just be really careful. And I hope, I wish you the best on that. Feel free to ask me a lot more detail on that, and I'll try to answer it before we're done here. Arturo says, what real estate books do you recommend for beginners? Again, all the BiggerPockets books are amazing for beginners. They're specifically written for beginners, so I would recommend that. Delano, IRR versus cash on cash. Not sure what you mean. How do I partner with somebody with boots on the ground to do virtual wholesale? Well, one thing I would say, Omar, is always go see it yourself. Don't trust anybody completely until you've tried, until you've done it like many, many times. Enrique over here, Jamal, as far as the YouTube link, I will get back to questions on the Facebook side. It's just going to be a little bit. I'm going to be answering the same questions. Okay, you guys are arguing on here. Toya says, what's the best marketing strategy? My quick answer, since I don't know the context, Toya, is to stage your home. Stage it really nice, get professional photographs. I assume that's what you're talking about as far as reselling a home. Should I be a landlord or hire a property manager? Michael, I recommend that everybody consider being a landlord first and learning the ins and outs, so you will know it really, really well yourself before you grow and hand it off to a property manager. But eventually, Michael, you'll go crazy trying to manage your own properties. I recommend eventually handing it off to a professional property manager. Pure Legacy, hey there, says, are returns better through conventional loans or using hard money and then converting to a conventional? A lot of times people do better off by paying the hard money up front, building as much equity as they can, and then refinancing quickly into a conventional loan. The reason, so my buddy Jack, he'll buy a house for like $40,000 on the courthouse steps, or from a pre-foreclosure, or from a HUD house, and then he'll put, like, let's say $10,000 of labor and $10,000 material in it, so he'll have 40 plus 20, so 60 in it, and it'll be worth like 130. Well, if he does that on a hard money loan and he does it quickly, then he can refinance at, let's say, 75% loan to value ratio. He might be able to get a $100,000 loan on the house when he's done. Now think about that. He's got 60 in, he pays off the 60, then he gets a loan for 100. Now he's paid off the 60,000 and he puts 40,000 cash in his pocket, and he still has a good loan to value ratio on the house. Let's say they can rent that house for $1,200 a month and their payments are only $750. There's a $450 profit every month. So that's what I would consider, although Pure Legacy, I don't know all of your details. Omar says, how to hire somebody to do cold calling. Don't really know about that. Try to do it yourself as much as you can, and then learn it really well, and then put an ad in your local paper, local college, local Craigslist to try, or it could be anywhere in Craigslist. If you can find a disabled person to make those calls and put them on a nice commission, that would be a really good thing to do, Omar. Somebody who can't get out and about and do like a manual labor job. I think there are places you can find somebody like that. You can check with like a local nonprofit. That's what I do. Anthony says, how can you get rid of a rental that's rented but underwater, not making any money? Anthony, I think you could just try to sell it. It's hard when it's rented to sell it, isn't it? But you can sure try. You can really try to motivate your current tenants to try to keep it as nice as you can. Maybe give them a bonus for keeping it really, really nice when you go to show it. Nightmare Trigger says house hack, multifamily BRRR. I'm not sure. Hey, Slim, I'm glad to know your dad is the same name. That's awesome. Tell your dad I said hi. Tell me he has an awesome name. Raleigh COD says 20-year-old in college and I just bought my first property. Congrats. That's awesome. I will live in one room and rent out the others. Any general advice on how to run smoothly? Yeah, you're going to want to get a bad cop, okay? You want to play good cop, bad cop with these guys. You play the good cop, and then you set up a bank account and a third person, like another person that they don't know and have never met, to do collections. And then, like, you know, let's say there's 100 reasons they may say, I can't pay you this month. Well, you can shrug your shoulders and say, yeah, but Juan is waiting for the payment. I'm sorry. You talk to Juan. And then let Juan be a really hardcore, you know. That could be a brother, an uncle, a friend, your mom or dad. You know, I mean, you know, I would highly recommend that you get a bad cop, though. We find that when good cops, when people live with their roommates, the roommates take advantage of them. Don't let that happen. That's the best advice I can give. Joe says we keep our primary residence paid off and keep our investment properties 50% paid off. Great job. The confidence it gives us to take risk is priceless. Joe Newman, that's a great idea. I like it. Zephaniah Yisrael says if the ARV is 85,000, would an investor pay 60,000? That's cutting it a little close. Guys, here's a formula, Yisrael, but everybody can use this. Take the ARV, which is the after repair value, which is the retail value you can sell a house for. Let's say it's 100,000. Take 70% of that, ideally 65% of that. Okay, so now on a $100,000 resale house, take 65%, which is 65,000. Subtract the repairs from that. Let's say you need to do 8,000 repairs. That takes the price you should pay up to $57,000 on a $100,000 house. So Yisrael, I'm not going to try to do the math without a calculator in the time I have, but it looks like that's $60,000 on an $85,000 house. If there are no repairs at all, might be okay, might be a little tight. BP says, do you know any reputable hard money lenders? I am so sorry. I'd have to go look them up, and I can't think of any right now. I know there's one in Columbus, Ohio that I remember liking in the past. Arizona Life says they can also short sale it to you. I must have missed the question. Hey, Brandon from Sacramento. Should you buy points on a rental property? D-Shoe. I don't know what the question means. I'm so sorry. Please ask it again. Kevin Gonzalez says, I'm 22 and on track to save a total of $30,000 by the end of the year. Great job. I live in Southern California and the houses are pretty expensive. If you were in my position, what would you do? Kevin, I've got a friend named Eric who's a great realtor, and he is buying and selling houses remotely in a different town. He's buying in Cleveland. And somebody, by the way, on the Facebook side, what do you think about buying? Matthew said, is it okay to buy in the metro Atlanta, Georgia area? I heard it's not a great place to buy property. I've heard it's great. So if you can buy right, Atlanta's booming, and you always want to go to buy a place in a place where there's population growth. Net population migration is positive. So Jared said, we rent a house currently and are going to buy the house directly from the owner without a realtor. Do we still need some kind of a lawyer? Depends what state you're in, Jared. You might be able to go to a title company and not use a lawyer, but you should use a real estate closing attorney or a title company. David Como says, should I set up my LLC prior to buying my first property with a partner with a master lease? You don't actually have to have an LLC, but if you're going to use one, sure. A lot of real estate attorneys say that maybe you should wait till you get 2 or 3 houses and put them all in one LLC. Other people say one LLC per house. If you know for sure, David, you're going to grow and need an LLC, yeah, why not? Go ahead and get it set up. You can use, there's an online service that helps you set up LLCs, but honestly, I usually set them up myself and save a lot of money doing that. So how does a contract work when wholesaling, Vincent says? Well, basically you're buying a house and you're making it assignable. So you check the box or you write in that this contract's assignable, and then you assign it to your buyer, And then at closing, you're getting like the difference. So if you can buy it for $30,000 and sell it for 38, you get the 8,000 at closing. You make the contract assignable. That's the key. Rob says, do you give advice to people who live in the UK? Rob, I'll try. Thank you for joining us from the UK. I'm honored that you're here. BiggerPockets is glad you're here. Michael says, be a landlord or use a property manager. Oh, I think I answered that. So yeah, landlord first, eventually get a property manager. The Real Max Out Gold says, I'm in my 20s. I just made an offer on a 39 unit. I have 300,000 in cash, 300,000 in equity in primary and assets. Looking for best value add place to start. Can also bring parents in. Thanks. Okay. I'm not really sure as far as value adds. Yeah, I would do cleanup, repair, make the outside look great, get some beautiful professional photos of the property, and really start marketing it really well. And maybe you try to do an Airbnb unit in there too if you've got a perpetually empty unit. Could spend maybe $5,000, but one of my friends I actually met on one of these shows. He emailed me the other day and said he's making like $3,000 a month from his Airbnb unit, from one unit. And then other ones, like they just break even on their Airbnb units. So it's not like for everybody, but there's actually an Airbnb program. If anybody reaches out to me on the private message on BiggerPockets, I will send you an Airbnb program, which is from a guy in Sacramento. It's really powerful, and he'll teach you to do Airbnbs, long-term rentals, corporate rentals, and he'll teach you to do a combination of corporate rentals and Airbnb, which is powerful. He's got 17 ways to market your corporate rental. His program is relatively inexpensive. I bought it, and I recommend it. Marlon J. Manuel says, do you recommend investing out of your city and state, knowing that there's objectively better opportunities out of state? Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. There's a book on BiggerPockets called Investing in Out-of-State Real Estate. I don't know the actual name, but it's something like that. I highly recommend you get that first. Rolly COD says, okay, answered that. MDF, great one. I'm considering investing in a Class C property. Pretty cheap, but also good cash flow. All the homes are about 100 years old. Should I run now and look elsewhere? I don't know. Gosh, a lot of people that get in Class C and D properties to get their start end up leaving real estate altogether. They get so frustrated. And I have a podcast called How to Lose Money. I've had several guests on the podcast who started out with a C or D property and got really frustrated, and they quit. So I don't know. I don't think I would do it. But dude, real estate. Okay. Yes. Thank you for answering that question. For Rolly COD, Rob says, buy to lease and is dead in the UK. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Okay. Kevin Jones says, I'm 25 from New Jersey. Thinking about dropping everything and moving to the Carolinas to start buying and holding properties. Any tips? Good for you. No, Carolinas are booming. Raleigh, Durham, that whole area is booming. Charlotte's booming. The area just south of Charlotte, which is like Rock Hill, South Carolina, has the best school district. It's either Rock Hill or the neighboring city. Has some of the best school districts in South Carolina. Great growth potential all around Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham. Greenville, South Carolina, really, really hot market. We invest and we like in all those different areas. Dude Real Estate says that's a good idea. How would you pull equity out of cheaper properties? Banks and lenders tend to only look at properties 75K and above. Find a different bank. Honestly, go to your local community banks, go to your local credit unions, and find somebody who's more flexible and is willing to work with you. That's my only answer on that. Our Canon says, are single family homes used for Airbnb? Absolutely. And you can also charge a cleaning fee when you rent out a whole home, which you usually don't as a single room. Kevin, okay. Canon are single, okay. Hi, I'm from the UK as well, says JDSE. Hey, you ought to get together with Rob. Thanks so much. Dude Real Estate, Kanan Evans, yes. Okay. Ruben Van Isagum says, in the Belgian market, apartments are very expensive, yet renting is kind of cheap. So the opportunities are very scarce. The minimum investment is 150,000 euros for a single unit. How should I get creative? You could consider an Airbnb model, Ruben. That might be a way to do it, or possibly a rent-to-own sandwich or a lease option sandwich. Someone says, how do you do background checks? Google that. There's lots of ways to do that. Highly recommend that you do background checks on your renters. Danny says, do you advocate putting a property into a land trust that has the LLC as the beneficiary? I've heard that's a good idea, and we've done that a number of times. I would check with an attorney. If you can find an attorney who even knows anything about land trust, which is rare. Air Jordan says, looking to buy my first 10 to 30 units. Can you talk more about the financing aspect? Will my investors get a percentage of my monthly cash flow if I raise money? Air Jordan, if you're buying a property where you have at least $1 million, $500,000 to $1 million or more in investors, you're going to want to do a syndication. And there's a book, I can almost see it on my bookshelf, by Gene Trowbridge, it's called It's a Whole New Game. It'll teach you how to do syndication, and you're going to want to set up a system where you give your investors a preferred return and returns on their investment. Yes. Syndication. The real estate guys have a syndication course. You might want to consider that, the Real Estate Guys Radio. And there's all kinds of other information on syndication. That's what we do, by the way. That's what my company does, but we don't do it for others. So James Johnson says, I found a rundown fourplex in my hometown, but it's in a population of only 2,700. Would this be a good first deal? James, honestly, I wouldn't buy a fourplex in a town that small. If you can possibly get to a town of 50 or 100,000 or more, you'd probably be happier. There's a lot of dynamics in a tiny town that can make it a dangerous investment. Lucidle Gomez says, how do I expand my investment portfolio? I've done 2 flips, one at a time since I use cash. Wow, good for you. I have a lot of debt that I need to clear out to fix my credit. I was going to say get some good debt. How do you expand? Try a rent-to-own sandwich. Again, that is like very little money out of your pocket, chance to make the same money as if you bought it. It's harder to do, but it certainly is possible. Cannon says, is leasing a nice property to start Airbnb a bad idea? See how many long-term hotels are in your area. Are there Homewood Suites? Is there Marriott Residence Suites? And see how full they are. Try to get a gauge on that, and that'll help you decide if it's a good idea to put an Airbnb in your area. Check the Airbnbs, see what they're renting for, see if the math would work. I've got a friend who makes like $1,200 renting a tiny room in his basement out in Lynchburg, Virginia, every month. He makes about $1,000 or $1,200 a month. Other people make more than that. Do professional photos. Don't do it like little phone, photos on your phone. Air Jordan says, I read Michael Blank's book. Yes, Michael Blank it's pronounced Blanc. I said it wrong. He has great books on apartment renting. Michael is the master of getting the first deal. So if you hang around Michael very much, you'll realize he is focused on you getting your first deal. And he helped me a lot back when I was looking for my first deal years ago. Kevin Jones Network. Okay, Ricky says, any advice on real estate investing in Northern Virginia outside DC where townhouses are $300,000 and up? Ricky, it's probably too late to get in the Crystal City area, but I got to imagine that area is just going to explode with the new Amazon headquarters too coming in. If you can, maybe go down 45 minutes south to Fredericksburg, or go maybe 45 minutes north to like Frederick, Maryland. Or maybe go to Baltimore. Baltimore's got some issues, but there's lower price houses there. It's only an hour from you, hour 15 maybe. How to get started with VA and a low score? William, I'm sorry, I don't know. Build up your credit score and then do rent-to-own sandwiches, which you don't need a credit score for at all. Does your book touch on the rent and lease option sandwiches? Chris Robinson, no, it doesn't. My book's all about going big and buying large apartment buildings. I don't know any book that talks about rent-to-own sandwiches, but I would Google it, learn all you can, and that's the best thing I can tell you. Christopher says if you only had 10 to 15,000 to work with, where single-family homes average 120, what would be the strategy? Gosh, I'm really saying this over and over, but if you can do a lease option sandwich, rent-own sandwich, that would be great. Dude Real Estate says partner with someone. Hey, Dude Real Estate, thank you. Thanks for telling people, giving good answers here. Danny says, thank you, Paul. We haven't had the streaming for a long time, Danny, but thank you for saying that. This would be a good time for me to remind people to give me a thumbs up, a share, smiley face. Facebook and YouTube evaluate that and decide, for the sake of BiggerPockets. If you like this show, if this is beneficial, please let us know. D. Shu says, should you buy points to lower your mortgage interest on a rental property? You should decide how long you're keeping it. If you're sure you're going to keep it over 3 to 4 years, points often makes sense to pay down your interest rate. If you think you might sell it in 2 or 3 years, I would never pay points. Hope that helps. Can you explain tax certificate purchases, IOMA? No, I don't think I can. All I know is if it's what I think it is, if people are way behind on their taxes, you can buy a certificate which actually will allow you to pay off their taxes and then buy the house from them, and you might be able to get a screaming deal. But a lot of people are going after those because it's a tax lien certificate, LIEN. And Snow White Queen says, how do you find out more about which cities or markets are growing? Google it. Look for positive net population migration, a diverse population, diverse job market, growing, low unemployment. The southern smile, Sun Belt areas are really growing more than the north in general. I've been in several cities the last few weeks on due diligence trips where the population is actually shrinking, like Illinois and some places in California. Leo Pater says, what do you think of a multifamily investment in major cities like New York? What would you consider a good cap rate? And what type of value add deals do you look for? That is a really hard question. So a good cap rate in New York would be like 5% now, but that doesn't mean it's good for you. I wouldn't want to compete in New York for anything unless you can find a screaming off-market deal where it's truly insider information. I just don't think I would do it. It's just too hard. How do LLCs work with partnerships? An LLC can be a partnership. I hope that helps. What's the best way to find pre-foreclosures? Drive for dollars. Driving around looking for lights off, weeds high, curtains down, or just looking for abandoned homes. That's my favorite way to do that. Thank you, Dude Real Estate, for Snow White Queen's sake. This is okay. Nelson says, would you pay off student loans first or pay the bare minimum and save for real estate investing? I would do the latter. I would save for real estate investing. Danny Ramos says, what's your email so we can get the Airbnb ebook? Okay, I'm going to give this out once. If anybody needs to talk about investing in real estate, wants to contact us for the Airbnb book, it's info@wellingscapital.com. That's info@WELLINGSCAPITAL, info@wellingscapital.com. You can ask for the Airbnb training course. Air Jordan says, for my apartment buildings, it looks like the only thing stopping me is the 30% down payment. That's why I need money to raise the down payment. Should I raise additional money for value adds? Absolutely. What do I think about upstate New York? The taxes are so high. I would try to get outside of New York, New Jersey, Illinois, California if you can. I don't mean to sound that way, but I mean the taxes are really high. Of course, the rent's really high that you're going to get too, so maybe I'm wrong. Where can you get sub $50,000 5-year loans to purchase investment homes? Try to local small bank or credit union. Mike Sherman says, if you were to start all over with real estate investing with nothing but $10,000, what would you do? I would do several rent, lease option sandwiches. Try to get in with a partner, do a flip house with a partner, try to build up your equity, and then maybe consider, as an alternative, you consider crowdfunding, like investing passively in a crowd fund, but that would shoot all your capital. Dan Junkins says, people often throw out the statement, do your homework. What specific things would you suggest doing for a person with a buy and hold strategy? Read all the books you can, listen to podcasts, listen to BiggerPockets, try to find a mentor. We talked about finding a mentor before. I highly recommend finding a mentor. Okay, I am going to stop answering questions. Cannon Evans says, how do I get the info on the Airbnb guy in Sacramento? Just private message me, Paul Moore, and we'll give you that information. It is really, really powerful. Philly Forever says, yes, that's my right email address. So it's on the YouTube side. How do you go finding if an abandoned property is purchasable? Write a handwritten letter to the owner or try to get their phone number. Air Jordan, how do investors get paid back after refinancing? What if I don't get enough? It's really, really hard. Air Jordan, I don't know the answer to that. You need to really, really run the numbers to make sure you're going to get your investors paid back with a nice profit. Wendy says, Swish, yes, I only invest in the USA. Wendy says, I bought a house at a tax auction that will likely cost more to fix than the ARV of the home. What should I do to minimize my loss? Is there any way you can get out of it? Is there any way you can just flip it to another investor right now? Or is there a road to profitability I'm not seeing? Wendy, the road to profitability might be doing really intense Airbnb. I mean, there's books and webinars and all kinds of things out there about how to do it right. Just get on a corporate rental if you got corporations near you. Get on hardcore Airbnb and just maximize it that way. That's my only answer until the value is right to sell. Chris says, spend my cash to fix my own property, fixed and flipped, or get with hard money lender and pay off debt right away. Chris, can you answer it again? Or Dude Real Estate, can you answer Chris? I'm not sure how to answer that. Okay, I'm going to take a handful of questions on the Facebook side right now. So if you're on Facebook and you asked me something earlier, please ask it again because I'm not seeing it. David Romero on Facebook says, from Naples, how would you invest $5,000 if you're just getting started? I'd find a good crowdfunding site and invest passively, or use the $5,000 to do a rent to own or lease option sandwich. Someone says, Northern Virginia cost of entry so expensive. How would you invest with $100,000 or less in Northern Virginia? I try to find a partner, or I would try to maybe invest outside of Northern Virginia. Just go a little outside. There's so much farmland right outside of Northern Virginia. There's other towns that are near there that are growing as well. D. Dockery says, your thoughts on the next recession and if student loan crisis could be a trigger? D, I don't know. I think there's going to be a recession. I just don't know when or how bad it'll be. There's always a recession. Do you folks know we are only 24 days away from the record longest expansion in U.S. history? So we are overdue for some kind of recession. It's going to happen. I just don't know when. Eric says, you mentioned parenting. If you're new with $10,000, what would be my part of the partnership? Oh, partnering. I'm sorry. I read it wrong. Eric, you would be able to put in the sweat equity and the $10,000, and you could find somebody else. Maybe you could find somebody else to put all the cash in and you put all the time and effort in. There's people out there with money that are looking for people they can trust to go do deals. That's what I'd recommend. Am I familiar with PG County outside Northern Virginia? Thoughts to invest there? I'm not sure what county that is. I know Prince William County is south of there, a couple counties. John Dean, what's your thought on renting by the room compared to renting the total single-family house near a college campus? Do it. Absolutely. I was in Minneapolis speaking on April 11th, and my friend there was selling houses like a duplex. It was a large duplex with a basement apartment. He was selling it for like $400,000. He was a realtor and an investor, and they were going to rent the rooms out. And it was 7 bedrooms, and he was able to rent them for $600 a month each. That's $4,200 a month total rent, and the mortgage is going to be like $350. So you can do the math on that. Very powerful strategy. I would highly recommend you do ACH out of their bank account and make their parents co-sign. Okay. Also, I owe $60,000 in student debt, average 7%, costing $800 a month in minimum payment. Why save to invest instead of paying off the loan? Well, you know, if your interest rate is that high, you can, argue. I mean, Dave Ramsey would say all day long you should pay off your loan. Roger, I don't really know. Roger Boaz, is timberland a profitable investment, 20-acre tracts or larger? Okay, so my son has almost 1,000 acres in land, and some of that has timber on it. It can be very profitable. The way you can find out, Roger, is get a forester, which is basically a third party, to come in, walk the land. For about $500, they should be able to cruise that land and decide if there's enough timber on there to actually maybe pay for the land, who knows, or pay for a lot of it. It can be very profitable. Okay, I'm going to BiggerPockets to answer a few questions. Renata, thank you so much for saying that. Please give us a thumbs up or a share. I'm going to BiggerPockets. I'm repairing my credit score and only have $1,000 cash. Should I wait before starting investing? Lee, like I said, you can do a rent-to-own sandwich, and that might work. I would try that. Navy REI says, do you think 4.5% 30-year fixed conventional loan with 25% down is a great rate for a first-time investor? If that's an investment house, yeah, I think it's great. I mean, that's historically a wonderful investment. Okay, folks, it is 2:52 Eastern, and I'm going to stop this at 1 minute till the hour, or maybe 3 o'clock at the latest. So we have about 7 minutes left. I'm going to go into rapid fire mode. I'm not going to necessarily even read the whole question. I'm just going to answer as fast as I possibly can. So a line of credit would be better than a HELOC. Okay. I live in Denmark. We have a fixed rate of 1%. What? What's the negative side of that? I don't know. I'm so sorry. I don't understand the question. Fixed rate on what? Is it better to get a mortgage in my name or my LLC? If you get in your LLC's name, you're going to have to co-sign on it anyway, so it doesn't matter. What do you think about Queen Bohemian Rhapsody? It's one of my favorite all-time songs. I saw him do it live in 1978 in Dayton, Ohio. Highly recommend it. Great question. William S. Park says, I started off with a 635 5 years ago credit score, and I have down 5 transactions using my VA loan benefits and have greatly improved my credit. I love it. Good job. Thumbs up. HELOC's a good idea to purchase with the possibility of a BRRRR. Yes, I agree. What do you think about Swish Kebab fixed rate off the interest rate? I don't know the answer, Swish. I'm so sorry. I'm not understanding the question. Maybe you can answer the whole question. Again, I'll try. Is student housing more risky than normal housing? Probably. Did I see Live Aid? No, I saw the Queen movie, though, where they had Live Aid in there. Are you using your VA loan for investment properties? Someone asked somebody else. Tracy Flex. If I do a partnership with someone who has the money and I have the sweat equity, what would be the split? I would try for a 50-50 and just get an agreement with them and make sure you put it in both of your names. I mean, if you can get it in your name, that's great. You like Pakistan. That's great. I do too. Thanks for answering. I'm getting a haircut. Okay. I hope you're not getting a haircut on your investments. Ha ha ha. Flip or buy and hold in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I understand Fredericksburg's really growing. I was there not that long ago. And so I would consider a couple flips, making some money, and then growing your portfolio and getting to a place where you do a buy and hold. How will the trade war affect housing? I don't think it will, unless it is indirectly. Okay. You're welcome. Okay. How would you pull equity out of cheaper properties? Oh, wow. I already answered that. I think we're almost done. So if you have any more questions, please ask them immediatamente. That means immediately in English or Spanish or something. Hyro says, if you throw out multiple offers and get more than one accepted, how do you get out of the ones you don't want? You make them non-binding offers. That's what I would do. Make them non-binding. And that's going to weaken your offer. You also call that an LOI or a letter of intent. And then you turn the tables on the sellers and you say, look, I'm making multiple offers. I'm going to accept the first one or two, whatever, that get accepted. I'm going to move on and I'm going to cancel the others. So move quickly. Try to turn the tables and make it to your advantage. If you guys haven't read it, you need to read Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff. Right, Whitney? Okay, read Pitch Anything. It will change your life and help you learn to negotiate. I'm going through it for the 4th time. I want to begin investing, but I want to gain knowledge. Where do I start? Go to the local real estate investor association and volunteer to help somebody. I can handle the hood, but any thoughts on why we shouldn't do Section 8? I don't have any opinion on that. I've had some Section 8. I haven't really liked it, but there's good reasons. Some people thrive in it. What's the best market for a new investor? Any market that's growing and has a lot of population migration coming into it. What do I think about Chattanooga? I like it a lot. It's growing. I've been there recently. It's awesome. Someone says I'm 19-year-old with $600 in my account and a wholesaling course. A local Alaska investor told me to get rental property. Rent to own, lease option sandwiches. I know I've given that answer 18 times. Sorry. It's just one of the best things for new investors. Eric says, me as a sweat equity partner with $10,000, would I bring additional funds as the hammer slinger or just be the partner? Usually, Eric, I just get somebody to put up all the money and then someone else to swing all the hammers. Okay, so I think you don't even have to put that $10,000 up, and I would go for a 50-50 split. Would you wait on buying a primary house in Northern Virginia? It's $400,000. I feel a recession is coming. And the prices will fall. Northern Virginia is unique right now because of the Amazon HQ2 coming. So it might be an idea. You may want to consider that the recession that hits the rest of the country might not hit there. Someone from Sweden says, how do you invest in real estate? I have $200,000. You can invest $200,000 passively with syndicators like our company, Wellings Capital. You could invest with us if you're from Sweden. There's other passive investments that you could do in the U.S. I'd highly recommend looking at a syndication or a fund. Get a hold of me if you're interested. Rhino says, I have a question. I have a house and rent out the rooms to make a much bigger profit for my second home. Would it be smart to rent the 4 bedrooms at $700 each or the whole house for $1,900 total? I would try to do the 4 bedrooms, Rhino, if you can. Okay, it is 2:59 almost, and I'm going to wrap it up. If you're interested in Chattanooga, contact me. Yeah, I'm not, but Eric, there may be somebody else. Eric Frazier says contact him if you're interested in Chattanooga. Thank you. Okay, great. What was the name of that book? Okay, it's called Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff. That's Oren Klaff. If you want to hear Oren, you can hear Oren on my podcast, How to Lose Money. It's also howtolosemoney.com. And Oren was an amazing book. It's Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff. And so with that, yes, thanks, Dude Real Estate. With that, we're going to wrap up. Would you do me a favor so I don't get fired by BiggerPockets? If you had a good time today, would you please, I'm kidding, would you please give us a thumbs up, a like, a share, something nice? We would really appreciate it. We're going to wrap up, though, in about 5 seconds. So thank you so much. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you very much. I'll try to answer a very few questions offline, but we're going to wrap up the online portion of our show right now. Thank you, everybody. Very kind of you. And we will talk soon. And I'm trying to turn it off, but it's already